if you know someone who knows someone, that's always better than someone you don't know.
Does LinkedIn DMs work?
What are your favorite ways to use AI in your life?
How easy is it for AI to come up with something new and innovative?
Hello, my name is Jenn.
My name is Joanne.
And we are your hosts for today's NW podcast.
I am the current PM of nwPlus, so I work very closely with our devs and our designs to crank out a lot of our internal tools. Pass it off to Jenn.
My name is Jenn. I'm in integrated science, studying computer science and public health, and I'm the NW Hacks director. I'll pass it off to our lovely guest, Kevin, for his intro.
Hello, so my name is Kevin. I'm currently a fourth year business and computer science or BUCK student at Sauder. This year at nwPlus, I'm the sponsorships director, so I'm trying to make all the money for us. It is a very, very interesting role for me. Yeah.
And hello, my name is Jan. I'm a designer on nwPlus. I'm 6th year studying math, and that's it.
I actually didn't know you were studying math, Jan.
I do, yeah.
I thought you were in CS.
No.
I thought you were CS as well.
No,
Okay.
Did you go into math knowing that you wanted to go into CS, or was it kind of like you found out in the middle of your?
Knowing I want to do AI, probably.
Oh, so you had foresight before you joined math, or it just happened that math was really useful for AI?
Oh, I guess. Well, math is I thought math was more difficult to learn on its own than CS. So, which I'm not sure about now, but yeah.
That's interesting.
I would say so. Math first year?
Yeah.
No, not for me. That was not for me.
Yeah.
It traumatized me so bad. In ISA, I didn't add any math courses to my degree.
I feel like, okay, we're gonna kind of just have a genuine question.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of students struggle to get into comp sci first year, and they're like, oh, I don't know if it's a right decision to do a different major and pursue comp sci. Do you think that's the case for you?
Okay, I think first of all, when you select a major, there's only so many required courses for you to take. In math, for example, I think there's only 8 high level math courses, and anything else is whatever you want. So I took plenty of comp sci and stats courses as well.
Let's go into some NW lore, and we can start with Jan because you've been in NW the longest. Maybe you can talk about how you ended up in nwPlus, your favorite part about being in the club, or just anything about the roles you've had over the years.
Okay, I actually applied I think 2 or 3 times and only
really?
got in on 2nd or 3rd. I applied since first year and my resume was really bad then, so they didn't take me in. And then the year I got in, I think Jackie was president, Jackie Zhao. Some of you might know him.
Goat.
Yeah, absolute goat. And I joined as Spokos, and so I was doing Spokos for 2 years. A lot of just a lot of outreach and being organized and stuff like that, being on time. And then I switched to dev, and where I learned React.
So you learned React at NW?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
That's really good.
That's
It's
really
a
good.
very popular tool for the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And then I switched to design afterwards, which is what I'm doing now. Yeah, I think joining NW was one of the most important decisions, low-key, I made in university, because it's just so important to find a community of people that you are similar to and can spend time with. Mm-hmm. And I feel you cannot get that from classes only or from random friend groups. So for me, it was very valuable to join NW. Yeah.
Do you feel did you join NW before or after COVID?
Ooh, I think shortly after, right after.
Because I felt for me and Joanne, we had our first year online. I felt after coming back from that, I think Joanne's a bit different, but it was really hard to find community, or I think I forgot how to socialize.
I get that.
I forgot how to exist.
Yeah. What do you think, because you've been in Spokos, Dev, and Design, they're all super different roles. What do you think are some skills that you learned specific to NW in the roles that you did?
Okay. I guess starting from Spokos is writing cold emails. It's very helpful to know how to do that, keeping them short, keeping the call to action pretty high up, experimenting with titles, stuff like that. And also just like some confidence in general with interacting with sponsors really helps, especially later when you go to hackathons and you try to like raise them up for the internships. And dev, I think, is like web dev and CSS and stuff like that, and React. I mean, yeah, I was literally just like sitting at night working on the Command Dev website, like just suffering, but it was so valuable.
Not the what was it? The horizontal scroll.
The website scrolled sideways.
Oh,
and I remember
design.
your Slack status for a bit was I like TypeScript.
Yeah, I do like TypeScript.
Oh, there
by
you
the
go.
way, yeah, type languages are important.
Me
But,
too.
but
I agree.
anyways, and then design. Design is probably like the most different from everything else because it's just like a lot of technical skill, Figma and stuff. So, yeah, like I can literally just like draw like a phone in Figma. Like that's pretty cool, I guess.
That is pretty sick.
I'll
very
say
cool.
something. I feel like Joanne and Yan will like laugh at this, but for my CalHacks project, took me like 2 hours to draw our mascot on Figma.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, it took way longer than I thought. I was like up at like 2 a.m. I'm like, I can't sleep until I finish
yeah.
this cat.
Yeah,
And then you look at the cat and it's so simple.
it's a lot. Like design thinking, I think requires a lot of practice, but it also requires a lot of like mentorship, and that's why I think what nwPlus is good for. You get to see all these like really experienced people, learn from them, and ask them questions. You know, you just kind of like suck up all their skills and their knowledge.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And I was going to say, like, about Spokos, I feel like Kevin, I don't know if you had it a lot before, but I feel like you have a lot of, like, good business riz now.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
our sponsorship king reels in the money for
Thank
us.
Thank you.
Every night I pray to the sponsorship gods for more budget.
Oh, trust me, I'm praying just alongside you as well. Yeah, I think for me, I've only been in sponsorships in NW, so I joined last year alongside Jennifer here. And Jen. I've never called you Jennifer ever in my life.
Not my legal
But
name.
not your legal name. Yeah, Jen with 2 N's. There we go. I've always been in sponsorships, and what was interesting as well was, as I've kind of grown into the role more, I realized that sponsorships is the entire revenue side. So this summer, I'm actually working at a sales internship or a tech sales internship, and the amount of parallels I saw between both of them was so interesting. Where I was seeing the people that are sitting across from me is basically the people who do Spokos. So the people who sit across from me at work are Spokos. So they're called the sales development representatives, and they cold call. I always hear them dialing some company up asking for a call, and it's actually exactly what we do. What I thought interesting as well this year was to kind of take all the different sides of the revenue side and kind of bring them into Spokos. So this year we, for example, have one of our NW sponsorships goats, you could say, she's been with us for 3 years. Her name's Sophia. Shout out Sophia. She's in charge of sponsor relations. So if you kind of think about a revenue organization, that's customer success. And I kind of structured our team that way where all those parts are included in what we offer. And I thought it was interesting to kind of apply what I learned in the real world to NW. And I think that's also what I really enjoy with NW is you have a lot of freedom to try different things out and to work on things that could actually happen in the workplace. That was really cool. But yeah, been in sponsorships 2 years.
I agree. I think NW is super like it's very real. Like
Yes.
I think it's matches to what actually goes on in companies. And if you're like trying to decide what is the right career fit for me, like I want to be in tech. I'm also interested in like design. I'm also interested in like sales.
Yep.
And you can join NW, try it out, see if you like it. So I think I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you get stuck as director.
Yeah.
Kidding.
I have a question for you, Kevin.
Yep.
So you went from Spokos like coordinator and then you went to Spokos director. Is there any difference that you realized in between those roles?
So I think my roles in sponsorships it's been definitely challenging in a way, but I think it's also been very, very rewarding. Especially for me, kind of going to my sales internship, I realized how similar it was to that world where we're bringing in the money for others to use and to support their events. And I thought that realizing that a good amount of what we did and kind of the quotas that we were able to hit directly influenced how good your event was and how much we're able to provide for it. I think that the main thing that I was able to learn from it, and I think was a skill that I was able to grow really well, is asking someone for something and asking someone for money is a very, very, very it's a very important skill. How do you sell NW+? How do you sell yourself in a way as well? I think was something that I definitely learned from there. I actually had a really interesting story from work. I was talking to the VP of Revenue Operations, and what she did was, I think maybe like when she was trying to look for jobs right out of university, what she did was she went door to door to offices and knocking on CEOs' doors. And she, first of all, threw her resume at them saying, I want a job at your company. But then she also asked, what is the most important skill for me to pick up as someone who's young, hungry, and ambitious? Almost all the CEOs said you should learn sales. You should learn how to sell something. You should learn sponsorships, something like that. Or partnerships, external relations. They go by a different number of names. But that was something that she actually passed on to me as something for me to develop in a way. I think when I did sponsorships, it was a great way for me to develop that. It taught me a lot of things about dealing with rejection, but also working with people, kind of managing an external side, making sure NW Hacks is happy, but your sponsors are happy as well is very important. Making sure dev is happy, making sure that everyone, especially marketing, is happy as well. That's kind of some of the skills I learned. So challenging, but super rewarding.
You know, I actually think that applies to like your just like everyday life as well. You know, what if, you know, you're like talking to a girl and like you figure out what you want
You know a
from
lot
them.
about that, right?
You can sell yourself.
I know a lot about that.
You can sell yourself to them, you know?
I refuse to comment.
So, pretty important skill.
I feel
agree.
like that's similar to like some advice that my manager from my internship last summer told me. I told her what are things that she had to really work on when she became an engineering manager so young, because she's under 30 and she's a manager already, and it's definitely communication or like storytelling and being able to like communicate with different types of people. But yeah.
This also again applies greatly during interviews in jobs. You know, you gotta figure out what the company wants. You know, really research their company values, engineering values, and try to fit in your stories with theirs. You know, selling yourself. It's very important.
I agree.
I'm kind of curious like about Yan, since you've been in like NW for so long, how would you rank like the different years you've been in NW? Like, have you had an NW evolution?
Oh, no, it's definitely continually going up.
Oh,
That's definitely for sure.
that's good.
I mean, I feel like that's with life in general. Like each year is like significantly better than the previous one because you just grow up and you're like more mature, I guess, right? Like you're like smarter somewhat, so you have like a richer experience.
I think it's also part like the more you're in a club, the more you align with their vision, and the more you're aware of what we are working towards, and like there's more purpose. Yeah, maybe that's a bit too deep, but
No.
I agree with what you
went
said.
there.
No.
You went there.
I think it's also just being like comfortable. Like your first year, you're like, damn, like I'm joining a club and everyone's so close, and like you also want to feel that, but you're like kind of nervous. And then now we're like old, all of us, so we get to like help the new people. Find that.
You know, also one thing is like when I first joined NW, I was like a little like innocent kid that didn't know anything, and everyone's like in these big tech companies. They all seem like they got their life figured out. Yeah. But like now that we're old, like everyone's at the same place.
Everyone is
like
in
we're
the same
still all
place.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
No.
So
you know what? I barely had like CS or computer science friends before NW. I feel like yeah.
Me too, actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I only really like started doing CS stuff in third year, so right before I came to NW. But we'll get to that. All right, do you want to do your intro to NW?
My
quick,
intro?
and then we'll
okay. I'll do it really quick.
Okay.
I joined. I think this is my third year. I was command coordinator and then designer, and then I'm PM right now. I think the last 2 years, so as a designer PM, it was a chance for me to really look at what I want to do in my career. So it was kind of like a test run. And I think it's given me what I wanted. I've built the skills. I've gotten the insight. So yeah, I've been having a very good experience.
Nice. I'm glad.
I feel like Joanne has a really appealing path in NW. Like she was like logs and then design and PM.
Got lucky.
It's pretty nice. For myself, this is my second year. I was NW Hacks coordinator last year, and then I'm director this year. And how did I join nwPlus? I actually like wanted to go to HackCamp. Like basically I started doing like CS seriously in second year. I was taking like 221 and 213 first term, and my friends were like, oh, we're doing HackCamp. And I was like, oh, nice. It's for beginners. I don't know how to do anything. But then I missed the deadline.
No.
Yeah. And then it worked out because like I guess I'm in NW Hacks now. But
Okay,
I missed the HackCamp deadline. And I actually I was getting kind of I was like a little desperate because I was like, damn, everyone's ahead of me. I'm like already in third year. So I actually DM'd the nwPlus Instagram. I wrote a whole thing. I was like, here's my application. Like I missed it because I didn't know, but like I really want to join.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's really funny? Yeah. When I did like my Instagram takeover for NW Hacks last year, I think I sent myself something and I saw that DM was still there.
No way.
Really? I was like, cringe. Yeah, that was kind of funny. I was like, damn,
we circled back.
Yeah.
True.
But I guess like it was like it worked out in the end. So NW Hacks was my first hackathon, and I had done like other kind of like event planning roles in the past, and I was like, dang, like this event is huge, and I thought it ran like super smoothly, so I was honestly really impressed. So then I ended up applying to NW Hacks. So I was like, dang. And then now I'm here. So I guess it was part of my journey to miss the application for HackCamp.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a
It's
reason.
all part of the story.
It's all part of fate.
You know, like something else that happened like that to me recently was like, so I was like applying for my first like internships in third year. And my first company I applied to was like a startup, and I was in the final round, and they asked me a technical non-coding question. It was, what happens when you type www.google.com in like a browser and press enter? How am I supposed to know that? I just took 221. I was like making stuff up. I was like, the funny thing is I think someone like said they might ask this to me. So I like searched it up, but it was not enough because they kept asking me like more into it. Questions. So I just remember feeling destroyed by that question because I was like, how am I supposed to know that? But at the internship I did over the summer, they also asked me that question. And I was like so traumatized by that question. Like I knew how to answer it really well.
That's really
So that
good.
was also
That's
kind
good.
of full circle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All
your
right.
failures might be part of your journey. It's all a learning experience.
Nice. I think we can kind of move on and talk about like your tech journey.
Sure.
I have a question for Kevin.
Yep.
So I think you're in a really unique background. Why did you decide to go from software engineering and pivot to tech consulting?
So I'm actually in technical sales instead of tech consulting, but my role is solutions consulting. I thought for me, I'm currently a business and computer science student, and for me as well, I always enjoyed coding, and I always enjoyed the tech part of it. I worked for kind of engineering at a small kind of cybersecurity startup for 4 months, and then I worked at ICBC for 8 months, both software engineering. But I also really enjoyed, for the most part, also coding by myself. Like I think right now my GitHub is relatively green, which I'm happy about. But I think for me, I always knew that there was two parts of my education. There was the technology side, but also that business side. I wanted to try something out, and because I felt like I was at the intersection of both, when I saw the posting come out, it was specifically where I was at that intersection, and I was just curious about it. I also knew that it was at a tech company called Trulio, and that for me was interesting for me to try out. I also felt for myself, like, since I was in a stage where I was still exploring and I was still wanting to talk to more people and understand what that path was, I was in a good place to go and try it out. So I decided to try it out. Ended up really enjoying it because A, I think I have experience in a way from it because I did sponsorships, but B, I felt like I was progressing towards where I wanted to work in a way, which was in technology. I worked at a tech company for the first time, and I think my past experiences were so impactful for me, but living in a tech environment is different, and I thought I really enjoyed it.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll say that's kind of.
Then, how would you say? Okay, I actually want some inside scoop in this for our audience who wants to go the similar path. How would you say the interview process for getting that job is different from like a regular SWE?
I think it's definitely on the behavioral side. What they definitely think about, and kind of when I chatted with some salespeople at Trulio as well, was you have to stay curious, especially if you're talking with somebody. When I was actually chatted with one of my friends who was in technical sales, and she mentioned that when you're an engineer, the problems are given to you in a way. You have to fix this bug, you have to write this ticket, or you have to implement this user story. But when you're in a sales environment and you're working in an almost consultative role, you have to go find that problem. And if you can't find that problem, if it's kind of within a box, and I think if you venture outside of that and you stay curious, you're able to find that problem and you're able to work on why your solution is kind of applicable to that. I'll actually give an example from sponsorships. we were chatting with a few of our sponsors from previous years on how we can position this year's nwPlus a little bit differently. And we chatted with one of our sponsors that was out in Ontario, which we have really, really enjoyed working with them. And we're so happy that we're kind of working with them. Like every single interaction we have with them is great. They're responsive. They're like patient with us and we're patient with them as well. All the information is so good. So we knew that this was a really good relationship to have. We asked them a lot of questions. I kind of, in a way, interviewed them a bit, asking, okay, why did you sponsor us? What can we do to best support your goals? And what is something that you are looking for in terms of that? They said that the main reason they wanted to sponsor nwPlus was we were kind of their hub for tech talent in Western Canada and the Vancouver tech area. So we really tried utilizing that as a really big selling point. And we've actually been able to convert a few sponsors this year because we fit within those goals. And because we kind of adopt that consultative approach, we're able to, in a way, diagnose that, hey, you have some of these issues, you have some of these pain points, and nwPlus can help with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is like staying curious is really important.
Yeah.
And like I guess during the interview process, you kind of have to incorporate a lot of that into your answer. That's how you appeal to them.
I'd say so. I think, even in a way, if you, for example, are asked a question and you aren't sure about the answer, kind of pivoting that towards your mentality, saying, I might not know the answer now, but I will for you in 5 hours. I will know for you with a bit of research on my own. I think that can leave an impression.
Yeah.
And just showing that desire to learn, I think, it can go a long way.
Stay curious.
Thank you.
Great point. So if you think that if you were to have anything done like differently through your tech journey, like ending where you're at right now, like tech sales, is there anything you would have done differently?
That's a good question. I think I would have just told myself to chat with more people.
Okay.
I think that kind of with all the chats that I've done so far and all the people that I've met, that's given me a lot of reassurance as well. And I think that for anyone out there who wants to understand what their career path is, understand what they want to do, understand kind of the trajectory that they hope to go down, I think talking with a lot of people helps you discover that, but also gives you a lot of reassurance.
Right.
Because whenever I go and chat with someone who's in a role that I perceive as so much more pedestalized than what I currently am at, it gives me a lot of reassurance, understanding and hearing their story saying, I might have this really good job now, but I went through this stage of my life where I went through this kind of period of reformation. When I hear those stories, it gives me a reassurance into my own and it helps me feel more comfortable in what I am currently doing as well. So I think that gives me a lot of solace.
Yeah.
Okay, then for our audience, give us top 3 favorite ways to reach out to people.
So if any of you are in a club doing sponsorships as well, here you go. So
our secrets. These are our secrets.
Oh no.
Just for our audience.
Should be okay. It should be okay to share. So this applies not just for like sponsorship and things like that, but also for jobs, for kind of anything that you need to ask someone for. If you know through a personal connection, such as a warm connection, that always takes that leap further. So if you know someone who knows someone, that's always better than someone you don't know. Simply put.
Okay.
So if you, for example, ask someone to ask on behalf of someone, then that can work in a way. Second thing that I'd say is always follow up. Like follow-ups are a way to understand and assure, hey, I'm still interested in you a lot. I am interested in forming this, and just sending that kind of follow-up just gives more reassurance for them that you're interested in working with them. I think a lot of people are kind of hesitant to follow up because they're like, oh no, like I'm afraid of coming across as too annoying, or I don't want to encroach more on the day. But every single time I follow up with someone, their first message has always been thank you for the follow-up. So they wouldn't write, or my instinctual of hoping people are good saying that, I hope they mean that, but they usually say thank you for following up. Third as well is understanding what is the best fit for you and what for you will appeal to them the best. So this year what we did for sponsorship is we sat down and we created a list of companies that we wanted to reach out to instead of borrowing from what we did previously. And we kind of looked at what we could offer. We looked at what was good about our hackathon, what was good for us to kind of provide in terms of value. We really looked at what made it that people actually wanted to sponsor us.
Right.
So we kind of checked this criteria, and we kind of bundled all this together and thought to ourselves, okay, we have this set of qualities that people are interested in partnering us with.
Right.
What companies do those look like? And then we kind of ranked all of them. So kind of top tier was these kind of companies. One tier below that, like top companies, we're going to really try hard for. The ones below will also go try hard for. The ones below, maybe like we'll just have one rep and we'll just like see how it goes. We'll just throw it out there. But these ones, we see a really good fit with them. We know we can help them with that. So let's see how it goes.
So that was
warm connections. Second one is following up. And the third one is understand what your target is, how much effort you're going to put towards that target, and then just going for it.
Like that, I guess like delegating your
or
time
like
and effort.
prioritizing.
Prioritizing.
Yes, I'd agree.
Does LinkedIn DMs work?
For what though?
Okay, let's say you're curious about something, about someone's profession, about getting a referral. Does LinkedIn work?
I personally had it work. I think as long as you sound kind of genuine and you make a catered note, that I think kind of resonates with people. And usually whenever I receive one of those, I'll chat with them and go further from that. I'd say it works.
I feel like there's a common theme in everything you just talked about. Staying curious, being very, I guess, dedicated, ambitious.
Yeah.
That's very good. Great tips.
Very, very transferable tips too. I feel like it reminds me, I actually coffee chatted Anne, like previous nwPlus president, and maybe like take her advice with a grain of salt because she was like very cracked, but she approached like job search really differently. She kind of made like a priority list. She would apply to like all her like number one like dream companies first, and then by then she would be like either then a little bit later she'd either be interviewing or rejected by those companies, and then she would apply for her like middle companies so she could like start following up on other companies she was interested in. It's kind of like a way for her to prioritize her time, but alas, in this economy.
But yeah, I think that's it for you, right?
Yeah, unfortunately I have to go.
Okay.
See y'all.
Man, thank you.
Before you go, who said this NW quote? Don't pass gas.
Okay, can I ask a question? You say yes or no.
Okay, sure.
Is it a logistics team?
No.
Better not be me. It was me. It was me. I do remember saying that. I don't remember what context, but
Man, I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Gooby has left. Let's jump into Jan's tech journey. I feel like he's like a really good person to talk to because he's worked at a lot of cool places, and I feel like also like diverse places, like more startup company versus like a bigger company, and in the States, which I feel like a lot of people are interested in. So what if you tell us a little bit more about your tech journey?
I guess like the very, very beginning is I started doing affiliate marketing with a friend like around 13 years old. And that kind of got introduced me to like computers in general, or like trying to make money with computers. And then I think so we were trying like various forms of affiliate marketing until about 16. And by that time I picked up like some coding from just making random websites and stuff like that. And then I wanted to make an app for something. I don't really remember what it was. I think it was like face recognition or something. And then I started learning iOS development, and like very, very little ML, but not like too serious. And then I was doing that until pretty much like 20 years old, maybe. So like 16 to 20 doing iOS development, like late high school and then early university. Then university, obviously, like I took some CS classes too. And then around like the time, around like 2022, March 2022, I kind of got clued into like AI, or not really clued into, but like I got enough prerequisites for the first time to actually like do something useful within it. And it clicked for me how important it is. And so I switched all efforts into it. I took a summer off to work on a personal project, which was like a little game, like a chatbot game, in 2022. So that was like before ChatGPT came out. And
Bro's ahead of the game.
I like deployed an LLM
copied him
on the server somewhere. And it was just like a basic game. but it taught me a lot about like natural language processing and like ML overall. And then after that summer off, I started applying to jobs, found my first one, second one, etc. And did.
What were those companies that you worked
Yes.
at for the crowd?
It was, so I actually did like a very short stint in iOS development before as well for 2 months. That was like 2022, 2021 summer. And then my first real internship was with Kinaxis. Technically, it was like ML engineering or something. There wasn't much ML there. It was like somewhat, you know, like classical methods, nothing like too complicated. And then it was Vector Institute. That was more like research in LLMs. And then it was Coursera, which was more like data. So like close to data engineering, I would say. Like data pipelines, stuff like that, migrations. And then it was Cohere, which was LLMs, like reward modeling and multimodal LLMs, so like vision language models. And then it was Coinbase, which was like ML for financial data. Yeah. And then now I'm chilling.
That's very niche. Like, is this like by luck, or did you cater yourself to kind of go into this direction?
Which direction?
Like the ML.
Oh no, definitely like my decision for sure. I had like a friend who really understood like a lot about AGI very early on, and I kind of got clued in from him as well, but I didn't fully grasp how important it was. And then, like I said, it kind of clicked for me in 2022, and my like confidence in it has been growing since. So.
That's really good.
Very impressive. Very
real
impressive
impressive.
resume. I guess like as a ML intern or ML specialist, if you will, what are your favorite ways to use AI in your life?
Oh, good question.
Or what do you use it for?
Good question. I mean, I code a lot with AI for sure. All the React and stuff. I was teaching Marine. You might have seen it in the channel. I was teaching Marine React recently.
Oh, I saw that.
and it turns out we had to do like a little revision for basic web dev as well, and I didn't know it, and so I just asked ChatGPT a lot of these things because I literally did not know how to do them.
Yeah. You know what I realized is like knowing how to use AI effectively is a skill. And down the line in the industry, like when you're actually working in the industry, this is important, like knowing how to use it effectively. So I think it's a good practice to have early on.
Yeah.
You know what's like kind of nice as well? You know, like do you ever have like a syntax error and you're like, oh, so annoying, and then you can like paste it in and you're like, what is wrong?
Yeah.
I'll talk about what we were talking about before, but today when I was at the Nest, I was like studying, and like a guy at like the same desk as me, he asked me if I wanted to get my tarot cards read. So then I got a tarot card reading, and I was really scared to ask something because I was like, if this is a bad reading, I think it would hurt my confidence. Like, I think it would be my last straw. Like, I just had 317 quiz yesterday. But I asked him like how my job search would go, and my reading turned out really good. But like he had to leave.
Oh no!
No, he had to like leave quickly, so I didn't get to ask him more about like the cards. Mm-hmm. So I uploaded a picture of my tarot cards to Claude, and I asked it. I was like, so if this is my question and these are the cards, can you like tell me more about what this means?
Was it good? Like, did they actually?
No, like actually, it was really good. Like the answer was really good. I was like, oh wow.
Wow. We're gonna have artificial tarot readers now.
Yo, someone make that as a hackathon project.
Oh really?
No, like I feel like a tarot card project would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you, Joanne? What
Favorite
are like
ways?
favorite or like what are like some funny or ironic ways that you've used AI?
Huh.
Wait, and useful.
And useful.
Oh, double question.
This is very interesting. I think I remember I was talking to my friend about like this guy that she recently met, and we dumped a bunch of things that they did and asked if this was a red flag or green flag. I think that was pretty useful. It was like a third opinion.
Wait,
it was a red flag.
Kind of funny. I'll let you continue with when it was useful, but do you know like Alan and Alex's project from Hack the North last year?
Yeah.
Like the council?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like basically it's like an AI chatbot, but like there's multiple personalities. There's like a sensible friend or like a delusional friend or chaotic whatever. It gives you like different types of answers for whatever you want to hear. Yeah. And like it worked really well. And we were at the airport with like some people we were flying like home to Vancouver with, and one of them like I won't I think it's fine for me to say, but one of them just got out of a relationship and they asked if they could run the console locally on Alex's computer and ask it questions. So that's what it reminded me of. I was like, dang.
What question was it?
Well, I don't know. Like, he took a computer to the side. Like, I think he was like
serious. Yeah, bro was serious. Oh,
but you know what? Who needs friends when you can talk to AI?
You're right.
No, I don't agree with that.
But that was a joke.
Yeah,
friends are important.
I agree with like double checking your thought process with AI, or like sometimes I would just ask like, is this normal to say to someone?
Okay, what if we flip the question and be like, what do you think are like restrictions of AI? Like, what do you think AI can't do? Will never be able to do?
This guy's gonna say AI's gonna take over the world. There's nothing it can't do.
There isn't much.
Dang.
They're really.
It's over.
I mean, yeah. This is okay. There's a very, very long list of like things that people thought AI could not do. Like I literally saw like a forum post somewhere that like, oh, it will never be able to play Go, and then like 4 years later, like it plays Go, and then like, oh, you know the Turing test.
Which one?
The Turing test is like a test where you talk to someone, like you instant message someone, and you're supposed to tell whether it's a person or not. Like we're past that now technically, and it was supposed to be like a really important test, but we're past that. So, yeah.
Are you saying AI is gonna take over everything?
Low key. I mean,
are you saying that we are cooked as developers?
No. I think we're okay for now. Like, I think whenever I use AI in development, there's always one or two issues with it. So,
I think, like, at this point, it's still, like, there's still nuance that you need, like, a human for. Mm-hmm. Nyan's, like, looking at me, like, not for long.
So much doubt.
But I actually wanted to follow up on something else. I saw this, like, online, like, a long time ago, but I forgot. I feel like you would be interested on this. It's, like, artists having like discourse on like art and AI, and like if artists can be replaced by AI, or if AI could ever be as good as like the artists we have. And like I feel like my opinion is like no, because I feel like part of what good art is, or like really nice Jan's looking at me like no. But
sorry, keep going.
Because like they made a comparison to for example, when people moved away from like sculptures to like painting, and like painting was like so much faster, and you can have like a lot of power to make a lot of like interesting and unique art, but it just made like, so people were scared of that type of like that development, but you just like have to adapt. Like there's still like human creativity.
I think so. To add on, I think at the end of the day, customers purchasing this art will still be human, and they will hopefully know if it's made by an AI or a human. And I think the human to human connection there is what's important. Like it'll make it more valuable that a human made this. So
I think I agree. Like I think there's like nuance, or there's a lot of like human nuance and like emotion, or just things that I think will be hard for AI to replace completely. Like maybe one day in the future there'll be artists that are like really good at like using AI to like speed up their process or make art, but I think at the end of the day it's like the human concepts or emotions or whatever they want to convey that will still be like what makes the art valuable.
I agree.
Also, like at this point, Jan's like about to like tear us down.
Yeah.
But, like I feel like at this point, like it's so obvious when like a hackathon project like makes anything with AI, like DALL-E or something. Like I feel like still the best designed products and projects and whatever, I feel like you can still tell that there's like a good UX designer behind it. I feel it's really obvious when there's like an AI logo. Yeah, that's just me though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I agree with Joanne about the human aspect for sure. Like human made things being much more valuable. I agree less with everything else.
Oh no.
But I think I think it's first like important to just keep in mind the pace of progress in general and look at kind of where the pack is going instead of where it is today. Especially because in general throughout human history, like the pace of progress tends to accelerate. So it took us like a very long time to get to like the industrial revolution, for example, right? And even like less time to make computers, and then less time to make like basic artificial intelligence, for instance. And if it keeps going at a similar pace, then we could see like a lot of changes in the next like 10, 15 years. It's hard to say exactly when, but I think it's like a much more important statement that it's going to happen anyways, like sooner or later. That's like on the grand scheme of things, if it happens like in 10 years or in 30 years, doesn't really matter because it's such a significant event anyways. But for now, I think maybe.
But I guess like maybe to like rephrase, like I think artists and like their innovation, I don't think it will go away. Like even if AI is like making some art, I think it's like the human vision, or I think there needs to be an artist behind it for it to actually be successful. Like their vision, or like them being able to convey something to other people. If that makes sense. Is that?
Yeah.
Do you also disagree with that, or?
No, no, I get what you mean. Like if
not anyone can become an artist just because like AI becomes super powerful. I feel like or like be able to make something that resonate with people.
Well, like two things. I guess if the purpose of art is to communicate something to another human or to like people, then I guess it cannot be replaced somewhat by definition. But I also think
Paul has something to say. Paul has something to say.
Amazing.
Sorry, please going. Please keep going.
Is it connected? Is it connected?
Is it?
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I personally tend to think that like what resonates with humans can be like, regardless of your metaphysics, like can be boiled down to just like processes in the brain. So if it can make something that like your brain likes, then you're gonna feel the same way regardless.
Very interesting.
You're gonna feel like, oh, this is so spiritual, because it's just made so perfectly.
Very interesting. So we have a new guest sitting here.
I was like sitting over there, and this is such a good topic. So maybe I'll just make it like a short guest appearance and like say two thoughts with this, because I think so. For context, I kind of got into development a bit later when there was a lot of the AI tools like out there already, because I started out in neuroscience. And so I was learning the fundamentals, I think, a bit later than most people. And so I had like a huge crisis over how I should be learning with all these AI tools. And I think, so I wanted to say like two things about AI. I think now that there's so many tools out there, it's incredibly easy and tempting to like learn things the wrong way, like learn things with AI. Whereas I think if you're learning computer science or software development and you're still early in your career, like it's so important to learn things properly, like, and at your job, like, or in classes, spend the time understanding fundamentals and not just AIing your way through everything, because it's so easy to get started very fast with AI. But then what I found, because I heard you were saying like it's still important, like software engineers are still needed, right? And it's still hard. I think I agree. Software engineers like have to change, but at some point, like if you're AIing all the way, things are gonna break. And if you want to debug properly, you're gonna have to know like a lot. So you can get started and get very far without knowing that much, and then it's gonna break, and then you actually understand like what the hell you're doing to be able to fix it. And I've like encountered that many times as I was learning, because I was a bit later to the game. So that was like the first thing I was gonna say. And then on the thing about like artists, so I also kind of agree in the sense like I think AI is shifting what's valuable. So for example, with writing, like if I gave you right now a poem, it's not as valuable as if someone wrote like a very good poem 300 years ago, right? Because you don't know if I actually wrote it or if AI wrote it, and AI can write it very fast. With essays, they're not as good. But for example, poems, they're very good. But then I think it's kind of similar with art. So DALL-E and those models are not like there yet, but they're getting a lot better. And so I think the value is shifting again. So then people have to change, I guess, their focus. And then I think, at least for some people like me, it was hard to accept that that's how it is. I enjoyed writing, but then I don't write as much now because, or I'm changing what I'm writing because AI can do it for me. So yeah, I don't know, kind of my thoughts.
Well, that's really good points.
That is a good point. But I think like kind of what you're also getting at is maybe it's like less value on, maybe that just like puts the emphasis more on like the human part of the art versus like what is actually being created. So maybe it's like now instead of like thinking a lot about like how do I make this make sense, it's like about what you're trying to say or communicate. I don't know, something to think about. Is that what you're also like trying to get at?
Yeah.
Or like the value is shifting. Like it's no longer more about like.
Yeah, I think maybe I can pitch in.
Yeah.
It's less about like how to write a really perfect sentence in terms of grammar, sentence structure and stuff, but it's more so what is the overarching theme? Like what is the message that I want to convey? Because even if you want to use an AI to write it, you have to have really good prompt engineering and to tell them, you know, what you want them to give.
Or I guess like to write like a really good piece, I feel like you still need to have like a really good vision or like really a clear idea of like what you want to convey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I agree. I think it's knowing when to use the tools for shortcuts and then when actually not to use the tools. Because like before we had bikes, people weren't biking, and then the bikes come along, so you start biking, and it saves you time. And then now we have GPS, so you use like Google Maps to get around. Like a lot of these things save you time, shortcuts, and it's good to use them. But then for learning, I think you need to know when not to shortcut your learning.
Yeah, I agree. I think like back to like software engineering being hard, like especially when you get like hired, like you're a SWE 3 or like a senior engineer, and you're like starting to do more design. Like, I think that's super. Do you think like that's something that AI will be able to catch up with, or do you think there's still like a lot of human like understanding and design that need to like back up whatever tools we're using to create these like really difficult like distributed systems? You think that will ever be replaced?
Yes.
I feel like not replaced, but I don't feel like it will ever be fully replaced because there still needs to be someone.
I mean,
no, maybe
like,
not.
It's like I don't know. It's really like the thing with this is like it's a very simple answer to all these questions, but it's just like hard to put a timeline on it, and it's also hard to accept it sometimes. So
I have like a question sort of statement. Like AI is based on stuff that's existing, right? How easy is it for AI to come up with something new and innovative?
Oh, that's a great question. We don't know. We don't really know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a massive like research topic. Like, can it take something? Like, yeah, can it make something new? Like of the distribution of things that already knows. Yeah, no one really knows, to be honest. I'd say like right now the answer is probably like leaning towards no. Not like the final answer, but we don't have any technology capable of that right now.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of software, including design, is there's an set industry standard, you know, to doing things well and good and right. So in that way, like doing all these design and writing code is easy with AI. But if you want to make something new or make it adapt to like our specific, you know, requirements or needs, I feel like that is hard for an AI to do.
So maybe that's like what Paul was saying, like when the focus shifts, maybe the focus will shift more like people will have more time to innovate and think of like trends and next steps versus they can like do a lot of the more mundane or like foundational things with AI, but they can focus more. Yeah, maybe that's like where the value is. We were having so much fun that Paul wanted to join us.
Yeah.
We influenced him.
I guess I'm here now. Hi.
I think I kind of want to circle back into Jan's kind of tech journey. Since you're very invested, like you're very deep into the ML realm, how would you say an ML internship is like different from a typical SWE internship? It could be the work that you do, it could be the interview process.
Okay. I would say number one thing about the work itself is like the feedback loops can be much slower because in software typically you write some code, you can compile it, see if it compiles or not, and then you run some tests, and then you know basically if it works or not. Tests can take some time, but generally not too much time. With ML, you need to train models and then see how they perform and like benchmark them. Training models could take like a week sometimes if it's a big model, usually on the order of like hours or days, and then to evaluate them again, like if you don't have the infrastructure, you need to like write the code that evaluates it and so on. So yeah, it's just much slower. You also like, I kind of liken it to writing asynchronous code, or because you need to do a lot of async stuff. Like there's a lot of models or like a lot of processes going on at the same time, and you gotta just keep track of all of it and like come back to different parts of it and like check back and see what's going on. I'd say also Math definitely helps, like having basic math knowledge. Okay.
No.
Not too much math at all. Like literally just knowing that a derivative is a slope is all you need from calculus.
I think I remember that.
Low key, and then like basic probability and like linear algebra, like knowing what a tensor is, like so on, like what a matrix is. Yeah, that really helps because it helps with reading papers as well, which is like sometimes part of your job, especially if you're like modeling something new. I'd say another thing, honestly, is a lot of industry ML is like boring, and it's not like you're gonna be, working on like the most cutting edge innovative models a lot of times. Especially the larger the company, the higher the salary, the worse usually it is. So
we can talk about that later.
Yeah, that's kind of just true.
I have like another question because I feel like you worked at like fairly different places, so you can probably compare. And I also kind of have as well. But do you have any preferences between like a bigger, more established company where things like might move slower, but there's like infrastructure, I don't know, prestige? Or do you kind of like lean towards like medium, smaller companies where there's like a lot of ownership over your work and maybe like it moves a bit faster, but it could also be like maybe stressful, or I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I really enjoy my current employer. Whenever this comes out.
Not his him and his return offer.
But outside of that, it's definitely just trade-offs. It's hard to say. I would say long term, personally, for me, I'm leaning towards like smaller companies just because I feel like, well, they move faster, and I feel like we're entering an age where it's important to be in touch with new technologies, and that's much easier to do when you work at a smaller company because you have connections to other startup people, to like researchers. If you're working on something interesting, you can like cold email them, ask them about the research, stuff like that. At a big company, it's really easy to like just get lost in everything, like get lost through the cracks and like not really do any like important work. Obviously, as you move up through the ranks, you get more responsibility, but that's very slow. And again, AI timelines are kind of compressing, so better like speed it up. So, well,
I'm curious about like everyone else. Do you have any thoughts, or have you any experiences with like working at like maybe a bigger, slower company or a smaller company? Joanne?
Personally, I think I have more big company experiences, and it's also a reason why I want to try working at a smaller company to see if I like it. What I realized for big companies, like one of the number one thing is we work on very specific things. Like there are so many teams that work on very specific things, and if it happens to like if there happens to be some like overlap between teams, it's a lot of cross-team effort, like a lot of kind of communication with other teams, trying to meet deadlines and like trying to get like other teams' resources. I think that takes a really long time. So it kind of like, I guess, matches what Jan said. If you want to move fast-paced, work on new things, smaller company is like probably better for you.
I guess there's like also like the trade-off where I feel like you can feel more mastery in your projects when you are like so specific versus like trying to be like a jack of all trades. That's interesting. I actually talked to like a sponsor at Hack the North. He like worked at Bloomberg, but at first he worked at like a super small like 5-person startup in the Bay, and he actually had like an interesting take. I think like at his point in his career when he was like a new grad and like so young, being in like a 5-person startup was not the best fit for him. He just like felt like it was a bit like too much ownership over a project where he felt like he didn't have like enough skills technically. Like he still wanted to develop his like technical skills, and also the trade-off is that there's less capacity for like mentorship or like a lot of like support in that way, because like everyone's taking like a big chunk of the work and ownership over like a specific part. So then he went to Bloomberg, but he went to like Bloomberg's newer stuff. Like it wasn't their like iconic dashboard, which has been around forever. I think it was like something to do with news, or am I right? Like they have something with news now.
Like parsing news probably?
Or I don't know, like it was like a newer platform, and he felt like he actually got like a lot of good mentorship, but they're also building something new. So then that helped him like build his technical skills, but also move like a bit faster than maybe like other teams in Bloomberg did. So there is like trade-offs.
Yeah, but I think one good thing about big companies is that at least for me, it's also very team based. You have to get really lucky with the team.
Yeah, it's definitely team based.
And I've had really good mentorship experiences in all of my internships, and especially with the bigger companies, I feel like I had more access to industry tools, like, and I was able to kind of practice them, ask a lot of questions, and yeah, I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I feel like I had an interesting experience. My first internship, I did not have that much mentorship because my team was overworked. Like, my manager was overworked, so he just didn't have capacity to like give me a lot of mentorship. And it was kind of like they would hire like co-ops in cycles, so it would be like the co-ops from like 4 months ago would be the one training and mentoring the ones that just joined. So it was nice. Like, I made like really good friends. I actually went to Iceland with like a bunch of them, but it's also like you're missing like that technical support. Like, sometimes you want to ask a question about something, and like the other co-ops can like try their best, but it's not the same as like having like a full-time staff to mentor you. But then my second internship, I had really good mentorship. I think I learned a lot more too.
Okay, so circling back to Yan, so there's ML is like really rising. A lot of people want to go into this field, but there might be like some sort of a higher barrier. So how would you suggest people best learn ML to get into this field?
I'd say most important thing is to like pick some project and work on it. So like learn from a project rather than by studying courses, because that way you'll have a lot more motivation to actually do something. It helps to like delude yourself into thinking that the project will actually like matter, or you'll make money from it. I think that really helps. And then even if it fails, I think that's still better than like not having motivation at all. And then a lot of times you also need to, of course, you'll need to like take some basic courses to like catch up to some level of knowledge, but that's like way less important.
I also have like another question. So how has your experience been for recruiting for machine learning when a lot of companies are putting like a lot of value on having like postgraduate also education with machine learning?
They do. I think it's definitely changing somewhat, especially because we have a lot of online platforms where you can put out your work and then other people can see it. I think that really helps. For me, it helped to have projects in ML. Projects were like the most important thing. Like for Cohere, I got there because of a project that I had, and the first ML internship also because of a project, and Vector Institute also because of a project. Only like Coinbase was not, and Coinbase and Coursera, so like the two biggest ones, were not because of a project, but they also have like very standard pipelines. You just apply, and it's like, and they were both like closer to general SWE rather than ML.
Right.
Yeah.
Then to do projects in ML, what kind of platforms did you use to like study or start your project? I just thought about like what would be useful. It's really individual. It's really hard to give, because that's like the whole value that you generate is like being able to come up with an idea, and it's not something like you can share and other people can I guess recreate it. So it's really individual. Like your
geeky thing is ideas.
Yeah. Oh no. As you should.
It's
As
hard.
you should.
Yeah.
But like what kind of platform did you use to study it? Like, if they might not have taken any ML courses, but they want to get started, like how would you recommend they do it? What kind of platforms? YouTube, like
Coursera.
Academy. Yeah.
I'd say now. So most important point is nowadays like probably better off starting a project and then just like learning top down. Just like literally ask ChatGPT and it'll tell you a lot of useful things to there. But like for specific learning resources, Andrei Karpathy's lectures, so he was like Tesla AI director. Those are really helpful.
And where do you find this?
On YouTube. Thank you. And then also, also for YouTube, 3 Blue and Brown videos are also good for like the math background as well. And then I would say, oh man, I am blanking. But we can leave resources in the description.
And then what are your like top 3 machine learning tech stack things to learn first?
Or
they're super valuable when you're like trying to break in?
NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib.
solid choices.
That's a great list.
So good.
All right, perfect. Thanks for that insight.
Yeah, so we're gonna ask Paul about his tech journey. I think he's like a really good person to hear from because he also, like me, started a bit later in our degree, and I don't know, he also is like multidisciplinary. He did neuroscience first, so You can talk a bit about your tech journey.
Yeah, you can you tell us about why you decided to switch? If you were to do it differently, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think overall I'm glad that I have a multidisciplinary degree, and maybe I started out doing something that I liked a bit less. So I started out in neuroscience, like pure neuroscience, and then I did minor CS, and then I'm combined major CS, so kind of like shifting away. I mean, the big realization was I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I chose my major, and I chose something that was kind of like a curiosity, but it all stayed a curiosity. And then when I got down in the weeds of neuroscience, it was not something I liked. But then I was taking some CS classes for fun, and I enjoyed the weeds of CS. And I feel like when you like stay up because you're enjoying something, and then you wake up and you're thinking about it, like that's a good sign. So then that's why I kind of shift to CS. But the multidisciplinary aspect, maybe I'll say two things. The thing that's hard is you feel mediocre in both of them. So, for example, when I was like right in the transition to CS, I was in my neuroscience classes, but I didn't have lab experience. I wasn't interested in doing research. I hadn't taken other upper year courses. So I was like the worst in my neuroscience class. But then I was also starting to take upper year CS, and I was also kind of the worst because I wasn't really programming in my free time. It was just like, oh, I'm exploring this. So that can be hard to navigate, but you have to trust that like having a range of skills and knowledge will matter in the end. And there's a really good book called Range out there that I'd recommend. It's about how being a generalist is actually like very good in the modern world. So maybe I'll leave that. So I have a question kind of for everyone. So context, I am doing my second co-op, and it's my first time at a private company. And so, a lot of stuff that's different from school and my past co-ops, I'm learning a lot. And so I'm curious for you guys that have worked at companies, like what was the biggest challenge for you when you got there, especially compared to school or compared to like having no internship experience that people maybe should be aware of?
Like, I'm just bad at replying to messages, and if that carries over to a company, like then that's really bad. Like that actually affects your life. So don't do that, please.
Don't do that, please.
For me, I think like at my last internship, like the tech stack was completely new to me, so I had to like ramp up on that. But also something like my manager challenged me to do that, like I felt like I had a lot of imposter syndrome, is like doing code reviews on like other engineers, and like knowing that like my feedback, even if it's like I'm just an intern, can be valuable to even like a senior engineer. So like I guess like having confidence in my skills, and also like especially like when you're learning something new, you're like, damn, I'm right at the beginning and I'm supposed to like know how to make the stuff and also like contribute to I don't know, some important stuff.
That's good.
I think for me, it's understanding like the big picture of how a product is made, reviewed, and like shipped. There's a lot of things to consider, and like that could be like writing clean code, understanding your product and how like it affects different teams, knowing who to talk to get the right approval. Are really important. And sometimes you learn the hard way, you kind of like oopsie on the prod, and then but you learn and you don't do it again. So
no prod.
Not saying that I did that, but
yeah, I agree. Also, the knowing who to ask, like that's probably one of the hardest things that I've faced, especially in my current internship. It's like knowing who to ask and when. I think as an intern, there's like an impossible balance that you have to somehow find between taking initiative, like actually reading the documentation, and then asking questions to your team. Because I found like asking questions, and usually people like on the team want you to ask questions, will save you time and can save you a lot of time, but it also takes time away from the other people. And so I think that's a hard balance to find. I haven't found the answer.
No, I think that is like a good point. Like you want to come with like an educated question. Like I tried all of these things and it didn't work. And I feel like you learn a lot when you struggle too. So it's also important for you to not ask too early. And I'll say this quickly, but like a tip that one of my coworkers gave me at my last job is like for her, what she does is like every couple tickets, she picks like a ticket that's like kind of harder that she thinks like will be harder for her. So she does like easier ones that she like feels more confident about. It's kind of like a confidence boost and also like a little bit of a brain break. And then she'll pick something harder that she probably needs to like pair program on. So like in that way, like she's always trying to like contribute to the team, but also contribute to her like technical development. I feel like I wish she told me that earlier in my internship, but I feel like that's a good tip.
One other thing, this was like kind of I think I started like overthinking this. It was like slightly earth-shattering from my perspective, or my worldview. But maybe that's extreme.
Okay.
There's something important that I realized is I think there's such thing in the workplace as too much curiosity. So I really like understanding stuff, and I came from like a lot of courses, and I was like, it's encouraged to ask questions. Don't just do the homework, like try to understand it. And I got to my job, and there's like, deliverables, there's clients. You can't try to like understand everything, especially when you join a company and there's like a system, like a whole big system of infrastructure that you don't know. It's like, you need to just trust, okay, it works. I don't need to know how it works. Let me do my thing and then deliver it. Because I kind of fell in the trap of trying to understand too much.
I agree.
Dare I
It's
say
rabbit holes.
abstraction.
Yeah. But I agree. Rabbit holes after rabbit holes.
Yeah, it's not the command click rabbit hole. Like you ever get into that? Like you like keep command clicking into like the code base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something fun that we do at nwPlus that I really like is we do like quotes without context. So like if someone says something funny, we'll add it to like this page, but we won't have the context. So it's like a little chuckle. So who said she sounds robotic?
Melvin.
No.
Who sounds robotic? Is there context?
There's no context. It's quotes without context. Oh, it was Dash, by the way.
Okay.
Already on the quotes page. That's impressive.
Okay.
I'm 6 feet on paper.
It's Byron then?
No.
He's like always on the tippy toes in pictures.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh yeah, also.
Isn't it?
It's Donald, right?
It was Donald.
Oh.
Are there any quotes like
Iconic dev
these?
director.
There's a custom emoji on NW Slack that's called GigaRiz. Who is on the image?
Isaac?
Wait, I use this. I literally use this emoji. Isn't it Donald?
It is not.
Icon. An NW icon.
These are good questions.
All right. Thanks.
All
Thank you,
right.
good host.
NW out. Okay.